On this adventure, we are meeting up with the giants of the forest in search of some of the biggest trees in the world along the coast of Northern California. We explore the Redwoods National Park and a few of the state parks that surround it. This land of foggy coastline is sacred to many and always magical to anyone who visits. As usual, Postal Road Trips is Jared and Nina, but this time we picked up my mom, who lives in Reno, and my nephew, who flew out from Ohio for all the fun. Despite being from Southern California, we actually arrived to the Redwoods from the north on US Route 199. Known as the Redwood Highway, it swings down from the Rogue River in Grants Pass, Oregon, towards the California state line. Between two places called Redwood and Wonder, the Wilderville post office makes for a great interlude. This station is located inside the Wilderville store and has plenty of historical photos that are worth a look. We had seen hints of beautiful, larger than usual trees on the Diamond Lake and Crater Lake highways in Oregon the previous day, but they just seemed to get larger and more impressive with each kilometer we drove. Fairly level ground in Oregon gives way to more mountainous terrain and a lot of curves in the road almost immediately when you cross the border into California. Whether you can see it or not, eventually the Smith River and its valley dominate the landscape along the California section of the Redwood Highway. If you want to artfully begin your video about the Redwoods, you can find quotes by John Steinbeck or other authors and poets, but honestly, it just seems more appropriate to listen to the original peoples of these lands. This valley, and land stretching far in both directions, is the home to the Tolowa Dee-ni. As is the story of this country, most of it was stolen in the last 2 centuries. The Redwoods parks will do a decent job presenting them as the original stewards, but as always, it could go deeper. The border we just crossed from Oregon to California is not recognized by the Tolowa Dee-ni Nation, the rightful owners of everything we drive through this morning. Coming in from the north affords the opportunity to get off the Redwood Highway before it hits the 101 so that you can explore the Jedediah Smith Redwoods State Park. The main road through this park is Howland Hill Road, a small and unpaved route that swings down from the 199 and into Crescent City. Unless there were some heavy storms, I would feel comfortable taking just about any vehicle here, as clearance is never an issue. There was one tree in particular along this road that caught our attention, and we felt obliged to say hello. Trees like this, even for people like us without ancestral connections to this land, have such a special and spiritual quality. Touching them, smelling them, and just being in their presence almost feels like it has healing qualities. road follows the path of Mill Creek, and eventually a small area for parking and restrooms is the location of a trailhead to find the Grove of the Titans. After reading the brochure of the park to find out who Jedediah Smith was, I was left with more questions than answers. It calls him, quote, an American explorer of extraordinary courage, just before the paragraph that explains how people like him destroyed the lives of the Tolowa and depleted the natural resources of the area. This country has such a weird way of worshipping some despicable, or at least undeserving folks. Why do we do this? Are we hiding something? Should this park be renamed? I guess that would be a start, but why not just give it back to the original caretakers? Protected parks are only being protected by industry and capitalism. In the hands of the Tolowa and their neighbors, these concerns would be a thing of the past.
You can do this, I believe in you.
The best answers are, of course, found in the forest. Native peoples often say they do not own land, but rather the land owns them. Something tells me that these sacred places would be even more full of magic if the settler colonial project stepped back. The actual grove at the end with the Titans does not disappoint, but the entire trail is breathtaking. I would certainly not want to miss it if coming again. There are plenty of people walking the trail, but these trees have a way of making you feel like the only member of an audience. After our hike, we finish the drive to Crescent City and call into the very wonderful cultural and visitor center in town. We have a great talk, pick up some information and a couple gifts, and plan some of our next moves. Part of the plan for these 2 days along the Northern California coast was to let my mother enjoy crashing waves and beautiful rocky coastlines. She belongs to this scenery, but since moving from the Bay Area to Nevada 22 years ago, I know she misses it dearly. Because of a pretty bad accident the night before, unfortunately a lot of our plans on the coast were cut short, but I wanted her to be able to enjoy it as much as possible, even when views were limited to car windows. After a few minutes at Wilson Creek Beach, our next destination is the Newton B. Drury Scenic Parkway in the Prairie Creek Redwood State Park. But first, we cross the Klamath River again. This time we cross near the mouth after seeing the source and segments over 300 kilometers upriver when we were in Oregon. There are all types of great places to stop along this scenic drive, which parallels the 101 but tucks itself right in between so many giants. We choose the corkscrew tree first, which lets you climb through its base to appreciate just how massive it is. After the obligatory postal road trips run down the road, we then call into the big tree, which is, well, big, of course. Some signage makes light of everything being big, which is appreciated. Some viewfinders are set up to look at the burn scars of the tree, so let's see what that is about. Everyone needs a hug. Absolutely everyone. And after the enjoyment of watching these strangers near the Prairie Creek Visitor Center, we set off on the Revelations Loop Trail. This is the perfect ending to the first of our 2 days in the Redwoods Parks. Quite a bit of late afternoon sun graces us for the ride back to Crescent City, especially along the coast. The water shimmers for us between waves. Unfortunately, we had the parking lot view at the Ocean View Inn, so we check in and head to town immediately. Nina and I had seen SeaQuake brewing featured in a documentary about a small Japanese boat that was washed away in the 2011 tsunami and ended up here in Crescent City 2 years later. The two towns reconnected and there is a special beer named after the boat, Kamome. Crescent City has its own tragic history with tsunamis, so the uplifting story remains an important point of pride. When we wake up, the coast is a foggy dreamscape. While this can limit some of your views, it also creates a fitting environment for enjoying the ocean and the trees that live right by its rocky cliffs. Before heading south, we fill up at the Elk Valley Rancheria and abide by the 21-mile-per-hour speed limit. Right outside the tribal fuel mart, we find a grove by the road that is popular with, you guessed it, elk. It is always beautiful to see these animals in person. As you can imagine, coastal redwoods love the fog and flourish in areas below 600 meters that see a lot of it. Along with year-round moderate temperatures, it is the perfect environment for them to grow as tall as they desire. As we re-enter the Yurok Reservation, we have plans to sit down for a breakfast overlooking the Klamath River at the Rekwa Inn, which is owned by the tribe. Unfortunately, the chef was having a rough morning and we had to come up with a backup plan. Luckily, the fry bread breakfast taco at the log cabin is delicious, especially the homemade gravy. We say goodbye to the emus outside of Log Cabin and get back on the road south. There are a couple more visitors centers down this way that we want to check out.